This is Business Rockstars.
Hi there, I'm Thuy Vu, broadcasting from the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center in San Francisco. This is Scale the Wall, powered by NASDAQ Private Market. Stay private on your own terms. For more information, go to npm.com. And small business owners, as we know, always face challenges. What they need to learn to do is how to scale the wall. And this is the segment where we discuss those challenges. It's something that every entrepreneur faces, and it's something that we're going to talk to my next guest about. Joining me now is Manish, Chandra, founder and CEO of Poshmark. The company calls itself the largest online community marketplace for fashion. Anyone can buy, sell, and share their personal style on Poshmark via its app. And Manish, nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You may work in women's fashion, but you've got something going on in men's fashion too. You're looking very dandy today.
Thank you.
Very dapper. Wanted to ask you, first of all, about what has been the biggest challenge in building your business, Poshmark?
I think it is really trying to find that right balance between community and commerce on the platform. So we challenge so many norms that existed 5 or 6 years back, whether it is in how people ship, how people pay. So just to highlight a specific challenge that we faced, in 2013, our payment processor, our credit card processor, rejected us because they did not understand what we were doing. Even though we have one of the most secure ways of transacting, they thought we were highly risky. And then we went across the country trying to get approvals and got rejected by every single payment processor in the country.
And that must have been very challenging because you were only a 2-year-old company then at the time.
Yeah. We had just grown tenfold in 2013. So suddenly the volumes had gone from being just small to being meaningful. And so our risk profile, et cetera, from their perspective had changed. I in fact remember I was out of the country, actually in Africa, and my CFO and I were on the phone, and he was telling me that within 3 to 4 months we may have to shut down the business because we didn't have payment processing capabilities.
So then what did you do?
Well, so we went around, we talked to a lot of people, used all of our investor network. Nothing was working. Effectively, none of the major processors were able to figure out what we are doing. We had a partnership with Braintree. Braintree, fortunately for us at that time, got acquired by PayPal. The combination of those two companies who were focused on innovation came back to us and said, we will process your payments, because Braintree before that didn't have the payment processing arm. And that partnership, which got formed in that sort of wartime, has turned into an amazingly beautiful and fruitful partnership for us here many years later.
So what is the key takeaway for you then from that experience that you think other entrepreneurs can learn from?
Never give up. I think sometimes when, you obviously need to persist. You need a little bit of luck. We couldn't have asked PayPal to acquire Braintree right at that very minute. And at the same time, you just got to keep fighting the good battle.
We've seen companies like Zulily, for example, and Guilt have a really tough time recently. Does that worry you about how your company may do given the challenging times right now for e-commerce?
Absolutely. Anything worries you, right, at every stage. But there are certain things we put in place many years back. So several years back, as we were going through a massive growth spurt, what I saw was that while we were growing, our cost of customer acquisition was also going through the roof. So I went back to my board and I said, we're going to take several quarters of no growth policy while we transition to a much more sort of word of mouth. And we knew we could do that because we had an amazing community. And it's horrifying for investors to hear that you're going to back away from growth when growth is coming at you. But I was able to convince my board, and for almost 2.5 quarters, we were flat. And then we started growing, and we grew threefold and then threefold again. But this time we were growing at a very, very fantastic sort of ratio of customer acquisition to their lifetime values. So you have to focus on the basics. You have to make sure your unit economics are right. You have to make sure you're scaling. And the one asset that we've created over the last 4 or 5 years as we built out the platform is our amazing community, which is sort of having an army of ambassadors who's marketing for you every day. So all of that, I think, give us a very different sort of approach than, say, flash sale site have faced, or even traditional e-commerce has, because we consider ourselves part of e-commerce, but we think of ourselves as social commerce, which is part social, part commerce. And it's something that nobody has really cracked, and we feel like we're really solving it both on the monetization and transaction side, but also on the engagement side.
So then do you feel, you mentioned earlier, your task is to find that balance between commerce and community. Do you feel like you've found that balance?
We have, and we always constantly have to watch out for it. So for example, one of the ways we think about our platform is Poshmark is a platform powered by love. If you focus on love, money comes. But if you focus on money, nothing comes. And that's something that reminds us in terms of how we partner with brands, how we partner with our community, how we sort of make decisions, and something you have to always be watchful for. And we've seen historically communities in our country, in our sort of markets, where they've faltered and not being able to serve the community as they focused extremely on commerce.
I'm Thuy Vu, broadcasting from the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center in San Francisco. This is Scale the Wall, where we talk about the hard realities of failure in business, powered by NASDAQ Private Market. Stay private on your own terms. For more information, go to npm.com. And with us is Manish, Chandra, founder and CEO of the e-commerce fashion app Poshmark. You talked a lot about challenges so far. Does it ever get easier? This is your second startup. Or it's always hard?
You know, there's always hard and easy things. If you want to challenge yourself, you want to grow, the growth is always hard. But I also feel that we are happiest when we are growing, right, in some form or the other. So certain things are easy that you learn from your previous startup or what we've learned in the next 5 years. For example, right now, we are building multiple businesses within the same platform. And that's new challenges. It's real new challenges on how to bring different kinds of things onto the same platform. It's exciting, it's hard, it's challenging, but to me, it's joyful and fun as well.
Sure. Well, you never want to feel like you're stagnant.
Exactly.
Right. If you could go back and change one thing about your journey as an entrepreneur, what would that be?
I'd probably exercise more, meditate more, do things that, there's never enough time for it. I feel like I'm doing a little bit more of that right now.
And why do you feel that's so important?
I think you need to keep your health in focus. And that's sort of something that I think a lot of us sacrifice in this journey as you get so focused on serving all of your constituencies. I feel like I'm starting to kind of get back into it. I'm a big believer in meditation. When I'm doing that, I'm happier, I'm more joyful, probably more peaceful with my team, so I'm trying to get back into it.
Does that help when you hit a brick wall? How do you overcome a brick wall?
It does. It does help when you're going through extreme periods of stress. I've never sort of felt daunted by a brick wall. In fact, when they happen, they happen. And, I always say you got to make something out of whatever is in front of you. And I think it's something I think all entrepreneurs hit periodically. But meditation to me just allows you to be a better person.
Mm-hmm. Do you have mentors?
I do, all the time. Yeah, of course. Some of them are my investors. Some of them are people who surround the company. My father was a great mentor to me. He's passed away, but family is another very powerful area.
What's the biggest myth about being an entrepreneur?
That they are some special breed of people. I actually think that anybody has the capability to be an entrepreneur. I think the other myth is that most entrepreneurs are chasing money, and that is another mythical thing. I think most entrepreneurs are not chasing money as far as I know. They obviously think about creating wealth, but they are sort of trying to, even if people that you disagree with their fundamental premises or sort of think that they have a different value system, they're trying to make the world a better place in their own quirky, weird, strange ways.
They're trying to fix something, right?
Yeah,
and most entrepreneurs that I've talked to, they see a problem, and rather than sitting around and waiting for someone else to fix it, they think they can fix it.
Very
interesting. Tell us this, what are the 3 biggest lessons to learn in dealing with the challenges of being an entrepreneur?
I think you got to look inside. Most of the answers you have are inside of you. So I think that is one of the big things, is that your gut, your sort of instincts are generally in the right direction. That's sort of my first lesson, having done this thing for now 12 years and then being in startups for another 8 years before that. The second one is that when you look at something, the opportunity is massive, even in the simplest things. You know, the way I sort of say it is that when you look at a coffee cup, some people see a coffee shop and another guy sees a Starbucks, right? And the power is not in the coffee cup. The power is in your imagination and vision to imagine something really big and powerful. And that drives me every day as I think about Poshmark, is that it is something that we feel could be the largest fashion platform. And then the last piece is that relationships you have are precious and they cannot be sacrificed. So for me, no matter where the journey takes, no matter the ups and downs, even if you have sort of parting of ways or differences of opinions, those relationships are really incredibly powerful and you got to maintain them throughout your life.
Great lessons. Where do you take Poshmark from here? Are you eyeing other markets outside the U.S.?
We are. So what we are focused on right now is really serving the broader population, so going beyond women, serving kids and men. So we hope to launch that very soon. We started to partner up with fashion brands directly and allow them to partner up with our massive community. We have sellers who have millions of followers now, and really bringing new fashion and emerging brands to life using our platform.
Are these brands that you would see in normal department stores? What
Some
do
you
mean?
would, many would be emerging brands. So for example, there's a brand called Quetzali, which is sort of out of Guatemala, and that brand is finding massive audience on Poshmark. So they can be emerging brands. They could be brands that you know, like Colette Malouf. And then we are also looking at global markets, which you should see us next year start to open up certain global places, outside the country where Poshmark is available.
Yeah. So you've got big plans. When are you going to find time to meditate and exercise more? You mentioned those goals.
At 5:30 in the morning.
Sleep is highly overrated.
It is totally overrated,
Who needs it?
Plenty of time.
Manish, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thanks for having me, Tui.
And thanks again to Manish Chandra with Poshmark. Join us every Friday as we scale the wall, powered by NASDAQ Private Market. Stay private on your own terms. For more information, go to npm.com. I'm Tui Vu, and this is Business Rockstars.